Picture a lioness crouched in tall grass at night. In the darkness ahead, she hears the roars of strange lions, intruders in her territory. She has to make a decision that could mean life or death. Does she advance and attack, or retreat and stay safe? And the way she makes that choice depends on something we usually think only humans can do. She counts. If she hears one roar, but she has several companions beside her, she advances. The numbers are in her favor. But if she hears the roars of multiple intruders and she's alone or outnumbered, she backs away. She is, in a very real sense, comparing quantities. More of them versus more of us. And she's doing it without a single word, without numerals, without ever having gone to school. So here's a question that sounds simple, but isn't. Can animals actually count? And if they can, what does that say about numbers themselves? Are numbers a human invention, or did we just discover something that was woven into life all along? First, we need to be careful about what counting even means, because there's a difference between true counting and something scientists call number sense. True counting, the kind you do, is symbolic. You have words and symbols, 1, 2, 3. You can count to 100, 1,000, 1,000,000. You understand that each number is exactly one more than the last. That's a uniquely powerful human ability, tied deeply to language. But number sense is older, deeper, and far more widespread. It's the ability to estimate and compare quantities without symbols, to look at two groups and instantly know which has more, to notice when something is missing, to tell the difference between a few and a lot. And this ability, it turns out, is everywhere in the animal kingdom. Let's start with one of the most surprising examples: newborn chicks. In experiments, chicks just a few days old were shown small groups of objects. Researchers found that the chicks could distinguish between different quantities and even appeared to perform something like simple arithmetic, tracking objects that were hidden and moved behind screens. A creature that hatched days ago, with a brain smaller than a peanut, already has a grip on numbers. Then there are animals that use numbers to survive every single day. Many predators instinctively assess how many of something they're dealing with. We already saw it with lions, but it goes further. Some fish prefer to join the larger shoal because being in a bigger group means safety from predators. They are, in effect, choosing more over less. Studies on fish like mosquito fish show they can tell apart groups of different sizes, sticking with the larger one to lower their chances of being eaten. Now, let's talk about an animal that genuinely shocked scientists: the bee. Bees have brains containing fewer than 1,000,000 neurons, compared to your roughly 86 billion. And yet, bees can count. They've been trained to fly past a specific number of landmarks to find food. Even more astonishing, experiments suggest bees can understand the concept of zero. They can grasp that an empty set, nothing at all, is a quantity that is less than 1. Zero is a concept humans took thousands of years to formalize in mathematics. And a bee seems to understand it instinctively. And bees aren't the only insects playing with numbers. Certain ants appear to count their steps to measure distance. In a clever experiment, scientists lengthened the legs of ants by attaching tiny stilts, and shortened others by trimming them. The ants with longer legs overshot their destination, and the ones with shorter legs fell short, as if each was counting steps with their original stride length. The ant was essentially using an internal step counter to navigate. Then we get to the heavyweights, the animals with big brains and serious cognitive power. Primates are exceptional at number tasks. Chimpanzees have been trained to recognize numerals and even order them correctly. One famous chimpanzee named Ayumu stunned researchers with a memory and number task so fast and accurate that he outperformed human adults. Ayumu could glance at numbers flashed on a screen for a fraction of a second and instantly tap them in the correct order, something most humans simply cannot do. A chimp beating people at a number game forces an uncomfortable thought: maybe we're not as special as we assumed. Parrots deserve their own mention. The famous African gray parrot named Alex, studied for decades, could not only identify objects and colors, but could answer questions about quantity. Alex could look at a tray of objects and tell a researcher how many there were using actual spoken English words. He understood number labels. He even seemed to grasp the concept of none, responding correctly when the answer to how many was 0. A bird understanding 0 and saying it out loud. Even animals we don't usually associate with intelligence show number sense. Dogs can often notice when one treat has gone missing from a group. Many species can detect when their group has fewer members than before. Frogs choose mates based partly on counting the number of croak pulses in a rival's call. Salamanders will reliably go for the dish containing more fruit flies. Number sense appears again and again across creatures separated by hundreds of millions of years of evolution. And that's the part that should make you stop and think. Why is this ability so common? Why does it appear in chicks, and bees, and fish, and primates? Animals with completely different brains and evolutionary histories. The answer is that numbers are not really a human invention. They're a feature of reality. Quantity exists whether or not anyone is counting. 2 predators are more dangerous than 1. A bigger group offers more protection. More food is better than less. Any animal that could perceive these differences had a survival advantage. Evolution didn't teach animals math because math is fun. It built number sense into brains because life constantly demands comparisons of more and less. In other words, the universe runs on quantity, and life, in order to survive in that universe, had to develop a way to measure it. Number sense is one of the oldest tools in the entire history of living things. So, can animals count? In the human symbolic sense of writing numbers and doing long division, no, that seems to be ours alone, tied to language. But in the deeper sense, the ability to perceive, compare, and act on quantity, animals absolutely can, and they've been doing it for far longer than humans have existed. Which leaves us with a strange and humbling realization. When you count your change, or check that all your kids made it into the car, or split a bill at dinner, you are using a refined, language-powered version of an ability that a 3-day-old chick already has. We didn't invent numbers, we inherited them. They were here, woven into the logic of survival, long before the first human ever held up a hand and counted to 5.